Millionaire freezes when he sees a girl with a birthmark like his. Sir, are you my father? Before we dive into the story, leave a comment below and share where you're watching from. Enjoy the tale. Rain tapped against the windows of Brexton Cafe as Blake Anderson loosened his tie with a tired sigh. Another day, another multi-million-dollar deal sealed. Success had become routine, almost dull. At 38, he had all that wealth could offer, yet something vital was absent. Blake checked his watch. 7:30 p.m. The boardroom stress lingered like the dampness outside. He craved this moment of calm before returning to his empty penthouse. The usual, Mr. Anderson? The barista smiled, already preparing his Americano. He nodded distractedly, his gaze drawn to something through the rain-streaked window. A small figure huddled under the cafe's awning. A child, no older than 6, sat alone on the wet pavement. Her solitude troubled him. Children shouldn't be out alone at this hour, especially in this weather. Hold that coffee, he told the barista, stepping outside. The little girl looked up as his shadow crossed her path. Large brown eyes met his with surprising poise for someone so young. Her clothes were tidy but worn, her small backpack clutched tightly to her chest. Are you okay? Blake asked, kneeling to her level. Where are your parents? I'm waiting for my grandpa, she replied confidently. He's late sometimes. Blake nodded, noticing her tuck a strand of dark hair behind her ear, a gesture so familiar it stirred an odd pang in his chest. I'm Blake. What's your name? Madison Parker, she said, offering her small hand with grown-up formality. Parker. The name struck him like a blow, but surely it was coincidence. Well, Madison, it's getting dark. How about we wait inside where it's warm? I'll get you a hot chocolate while we wait for your grandpa. She hesitated, then nodded, gathering her backpack. As she took his hand, her sleeve slipped back, revealing a crescent-shaped birthmark on her wrist. Blake froze, his breath catching. That birthmark, identical to his own and his mother's, was a rare family trait. That's a unique birthmark, he managed, his voice suddenly hoarse. My mom had the same one, Madison said simply. I never met her. She died when I was born. The world tilted beneath Blake's feet. Your mother's name. Was it Jessica? Madison's eyes widened. Yes. Did you know my mommy? Blake steadied himself against the wall, memories flooding back. Jessica Parker, his first love, lost to him after college. Madison, when's your birthday? February 12th, she answered. Exactly 9 months after he'd last seen Jessica. My daddy's name was Blake too, Madison added innocently. That's what Grandma told me, but he left before I was born. In that moment, standing in the rain with a child he never knew existed, Blake Anderson's carefully built world shattered. Blake stared at the DNA results on his desk, the clinical proof of what he'd suspected since seeing Madison's birthmark 2 weeks earlier. 99.9% probability of paternity. The words blurred as he ran his hands through his hair. This can't be real, he muttered, though the evidence was undeniable. His assistant Rachel knocked softly before entering. The investigator called, she said. He found Jessica's death certificate and Madison's birth certificate. You're listed as the father. Blake's throat tightened. Why didn't she tell me? We broke up, but this… According to her parents, she tried, Rachel said. She called. Your office dozens of times, Blake frowned. I never got any messages. Rachel placed a folder on his desk. I checked our records from that time. There were calls from Jessica, all marked as handled by your Uncle Harold. Blake's stomach sank. Harold, his mentor after his parents' deaths, had guided his career. The thought that he might have hidden Madison's existence seemed unthinkable. There's more, Rachel continued. I found these in the archives. She produced several envelopes in Jessica's handwriting, all unopened, marked Return to Sender in Harold's hand. He intercepted her letters, Blake whispered, anger rising. It appears so, Rachel said. And there's something else. Harold restructured your inheritance back then, keeping control until you turned 40 or had a family. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. Harold had controlled Blake's vast inheritance for years, and a child would have ended that arrangement. Blake stood abruptly. I need to see my uncle now. Harold's corner office radiated authority, much like the man himself. At 65, his silver hair was impeccable, his expression calculating as Blake entered. What brings you here unannounced? Harold asked smoothly. Blake tossed the DNA results onto the desk. Did you know? Harold glanced at the paper, his face impassive. About your fling with that Parker girl? Old news. Not so old. I have a daughter. Harold's jaw tightened slightly. A regrettable situation, but irrelevant to the company. You kept her from me, Blake said, his voice low and dangerous. You hid Jessica's calls, returned her letters. Why? Don't be dramatic, Harold replied. You were 25, set to become CEO. A child would have ruined everything we built. Everything I built, Blake corrected. You had no right. Harold leaned forward. I protected your future. That girl was never worthy of you or this family. Her child would have been a distraction. Her name is Madison, Blake said through gritted teeth. She's my daughter. Be reasonable. Harold's tone hardened. What do you plan to do? Play father to a girl you've never met? You know nothing about parenting. Blake turned to leave, pausing at the door. I'm meeting my lawyers tomorrow. I'm filing for custody. Harold's laugh was icy. You think a workaholic bachelor with no parenting experience has a chance? Don't throw it all away for misplaced guilt. Watch me, Blake replied, shutting the door behind him. The Parker residence was modest, a small craftsman house with faded blue paint and a neat garden. Blake sat in his luxury car, palms sweating as he rehearsed his words. This wasn't a business deal. It was his daughter. After 3 deep breaths, he approached the door. An elderly man with kind eyes answered. Robert Parker, Jessica's father. Mr. Anderson, I presume. Yes, sir, Blake said. I believe you're expecting me. Robert's expression was cautious but not unkind. Madison's excited to meet you properly. She keeps talking. About the man with the same birthmark. Inside, Martha Parker sat stiffly on the couch, her disapproval clear. Blake couldn't blame her. He was the man who, in her eyes, abandoned her pregnant daughter. Mrs. Parker, he nodded respectfully. You look just like your pictures, Martha said coldly. Jessica kept them all. Blake's heart twisted at Jessica's name. Before he could reply, Madison bounded in, stopping short when she saw him. You came? She said, surprise in her voice. I promised I would, Blake said, kneeling to her level. I brought you something. He handed her a small velvet box containing a silver locket with a photo of Jessica from his old college albums. That's my mommy, Madison whispered, touching the picture reverently. It is, Blake agreed, his throat tight. I thought you'd like to have it. Madison studied him closely. Are you really my dad? Her directness caught him off guard. Yes, Madison, I am. Where were you before? No accusation, just curiosity. Blake glanced at the Parkers, then back to her. I didn't know about you, sweetheart. If I had, I'd have been here. I promise. As Madison showed Blake her room, his phone buzzed with 12 missed calls from Harold. He silenced it. She has your smile, Robert observed, as Madison ran to fetch her drawings. She has Jessica's eyes, Blake replied softly. Robert nodded. Jessica always said you'd come back someday, even at the end. The words cut like a blade. I would have if I'd known. You're here now, Robert said. The question is, are you staying? His phone lit up with a text from Rachel. Emergency. Harold filed a legal injunction claiming guardianship conflict. Lawyers waiting at office. Martha appeared in the doorway. Your real life is calling, Mr. Anderson. Madison doesn't need more disappointment. Blake pocketed his phone. This is my real life now, Mrs. Parker. I'm not going anywhere. As if summoned, Madison returned, her smile mirroring his own. Can you come back tomorrow? She asked hopefully. Blake took her small hand. Tomorrow and every day after, if you'll let me. Daddy, you're doing it wrong, Madison giggled, watching Blake fumble with her hair ties. His fingers, adept at signing multi-million-dollar contracts, struggled with pigtails. 3 weeks into fatherhood, Blake was learning that business. Skills meant little in parenting, bedtime routines, school lunches, and now hairstyling. Each day brought new challenges. Need help? A voice offered from the classroom doorway. Blake turned to see Madison's teacher, Olivia Chen, smiling. With amusement, morning drop-offs were his daily stress test. Would you mind? He asked, relieved. Olivia deftly fixed Madison's hair, explaining the technique. Blake watched closely, determined to learn. There you go, Madison. Join the others at the reading corner, Olivia suggested. Once Madison was out of earshot, she turned to Blake. How are you holding up? Is it that obvious I'm struggling? He asked with a wry smile. All new parents struggle, she reassured him, even those with 6 years of practice. Blake's phone buzzed. Another text from Harold. He ignored it. Madison's been drawing pictures of you in art class, Olivia said quietly. She told everyone her daddy came back from a long trip. That's progress. The small victory warmed Blake's heart. Thank you for sharing that, he said sincerely. Parents' night is Thursday, Olivia added. I know it's short notice. I'll be there, Blake promised. As he left the school, his lawyer called. Harold's pushing for a psychological evaluation, claiming your sudden interest. In Madison is a midlife crisis that could harm her. Blake's jaw tightened. He's desperate. There's more, the lawyer continued. He's called an emergency board meeting, arguing your family situation is hurting company performance. Back at the office, Rachel waited with a stack of files. I've rescheduled your meetings to fit Madison's school hours and found these. She handed him parenting books and local father-daughter activity guides. Blake was momentarily speechless. Rachel, thank you. One more thing, she hesitated. Harold's been meeting with Jessica's ex-boyfriend from after your breakup. I don't know why, but it's not good. Blake nodded grimly. Learning fatherhood was hard enough. Fighting a hostile uncle made it exhausting. That evening, as he tucked Madison into bed, she asked sleepily, Are you going to leave again? No, Madison, Blake said firmly, kissing her forehead. I'm not going anywhere. For the first time, he felt she might believe him. Blake found the box in Jessica's old room, tucked away in the Parkers' attic. It contained dozens of unsent letters addressed to him. We didn't know about these, Martha explained, her usual coldness softening. Jessica must have written them during her pregnancy. With trembling hands, Blake opened the first letter, dated 8 years ago. Blake, I have news that will change everything. I'm carrying our child. I've called your office 17 times. Your uncle says you're too busy to talk. I don't believe him. Each letter revealed Jessica's journey, her determination to reach him, her hope he'd return, her love for their unborn child. The final letter, written days before her death, broke him. I still believe you'd want to know her, Blake. I've named her Madison. She has your birthmark. Someday, I hope she finds you. Grief and fury battled within him. Harold hadn't just hidden his daughter. He'd stolen Jessica's final years. At the office, Rachel brought grim news. Harold leaked documents to the press, suggesting you're pursuing Madison for tax benefits. It's all over business. Blogs. Then the school called. Mr. Anderson, there's been an incident, Olivia said. Some kids teased Madison about the news articles. She's upset. When Blake arrived, Madison sat alone, tears streaking her face. Tommy said you only want me for money, she whispered. Is it true? Blake knelt beside her. Never. You're the most important person in my life. But you're always working, and you get mad when I mess up. Her words stung. He'd been impatient when she spilled juice on papers, distracted by work emergencies. I'm still learning to be a good dad, he admitted. But I'll do better. That evening, Harold appeared uninvited. This charade has gone far enough, he said, dropping a folder on the table. Jessica was seeing someone else when she got pregnant. Madison might not be yours. Blake's blood ran cold. The DNA test can be manipulated. Harold cut in. The Parkers need financial support. Think about it. When Harold left, doubt crept in. Why hadn't Jessica mentioned another man? A text from an unknown number arrived. I know the truth about Jessica. Meet me tomorrow alone. Attached was a photo of Jessica with another man, dated during their time together. Blake stared, the ground shifting beneath him. Everything, Jessica, Madison, his purpose, suddenly felt uncertain. The cafe where Blake met the mysterious contact was nearly empty. A man approached, mid-40s, disheveled, with a greedy glint in his eyes. You're Blake Anderson, he said, sliding into the seat. I'm Mark Stevens. I dated Jessica briefly after you split. Blake eyed him warily. You sent the photo. Harold paid me, Mark admitted. 10 grand to say I was with Jessica when she got pregnant. The photos are fake. Relief hit Blake, followed by disgust. Why tell me? Jessica deserved better, Mark said quietly. She never got over you. When she learned she was pregnant, she ended things with me immediately. Were you there when she had Madison? Blake asked. Mark nodded. I was there when she died. Her last words were about finding you, introducing you to your daughter. The revelation struck Blake hard. Jessica had fought to reach him until her final breath. After Mark left, Blake stormed into the company board meeting where Harold was speaking. Clearly distracted by personal matters, the company needs stable leadership, Harold was saying. I'd like to address the board, Blake interrupted. Harold's face tightened. This is irregular. I'm still CEO, Blake said coolly. Facing the board, he made a decision that had been forming since he saw Madison's birthmark. Effective immediately, I'm taking a 3-month leave of absence. My daughter needs me, and I need to be the father she deserves. Harold scoffed. This proves my point. No, Uncle, Blake said. It proves I know what matters. I've missed holidays, relationships, life itself for this company. I won't miss Madison's childhood. The boardroom buzzed. Harold slammed the tea table. You're throwing away your father's legacy. I'm saving what matters, Blake countered. The company will be here in 3 months. My daughter's childhood won't. Later, on the Parkers' porch swing, Robert handed Blake a photo album. Jessica kept a diary, he said, revealing a page with a taped key. She locked it away before she died, said we should give it to you if anything happened. The diary, retrieved from a safety deposit box, held Jessica's deepest thoughts, her love for Blake, her determination that Madison would know her father. The final entry, written the day before her death from childbirth complications, read, Tomorrow I'll hold our daughter and soon I'll find you, Blake. We'll be a family. As Blake closed the diary, his lawyer called. Harold's filed for emergency guardianship of Madison, claiming you're mentally unfit. The hearing's next week. Blake was now fighting for the future Jessica had believed in. Higher, higher. Madison squealed as Blake pushed her on the swing, her laughter echoing through the park. Their Saturday morning outings had become a cherished ritual. Blake checked his watch. No calls, no meetings. His leave of absence was the right choice, despite Harold's ongoing legal moves. Watch me jump, Madison called, leaping from the swing with fearless abandon. Blake's heart lurched until she landed safely, grinning. Careful, sweetheart. he said, smiling at her adventurous spirit, so like Jessica's. You worry too much, a voice said behind him. Blake turned to find Sarah Williams, Jessica's best friend, watching warmly. I was hoping to meet you, she said. The Parkers told me you're fighting for Madison. They sat on a bench while Madison played. Sarah shared stories of Jessica's final years, filling gaps in Blake's understanding. She made this memory box for Madison's milestones, Sarah said, handing him a package. Videos, letters for birthdays, graduation, even her wedding. Blake's throat tightened. She thought of everything. She never doubted you'd find each other, Sarah added softly. That afternoon, Blake and Madison explored the memory box, photos, trinkets, and recordings that brought Jessica's presence alive. Mom was pretty, Madison said, touching a photo. The most beautiful person I knew, Blake agreed. They watched a video Jessica recorded before Madison's birth, her voice strong despite fatigue. Madison, my sweet girl, know you're so loved. Your father would adore you as I do. Find him someday. Madison looked at Blake, tears shining, with understanding. She wanted us together. More than anything, Blake confirmed. That evening, Madison gave him a crayon drawing of 3 figures, a man, a girl, and a woman, among stars. That's you, me, and Mom watching from heaven, she explained. Blake swallowed hard. It's perfect. As he turned off her light, she said, Good night, Dad. Those 3 words realigned his world. Good night, sweetheart, he whispered, voice thick with emotion. Blake stared at quarterly reports, numbers blurring at 3 a.m. He was fighting to save the Miller account, unraveling during his absence. An urgent email from the board arrived. 3 major clients threatened to pull out, citing leadership. Instability. Harold's influence was clear. The kitchen light flicked on, revealing Madison in pajamas, clutching her stuffed elephant. Why are you awake? She asked. Blake closed his laptop. Just work, sweetheart. What's wrong? I had the dream about Mom again. Blake pulled her onto his lap, breathing in her shampoo's scent. Her nightmares had begun after Harold sent a reporter to her school, resulting in an article questioning Blake's parenting. Grandpa's coughing got worse, Madison whispered. Grandma was crying. Blake's stomach tightened. Robert's health had worsened, likely from the stress of Harold's legal tactics. We'll visit them tomorrow, Blake promised. Morning. Brought more trouble. Olivia called as Blake made breakfast. A social worker's here, asking about Madison's home life, she said tensely. At the school, the social worker, clearly influenced by Harold, questioned Blake's work parenting. Balance. Olivia defended him fiercely, her hand brushing his in support, sending unexpected warmth through him. Their growing closeness was a bright spot. Thanks for having my back, Blake said afterward. Always, Olivia replied, her smile stirring. His heart. That afternoon, Martha called, sobbing. Robert's in the hospital. It's his heart now. The unspoken question hung. If Robert passed, would Madison live with Blake permanently? At the hospital, Blake found Harold speaking with a doctor. Trying to undermine me with the Parkers now? Blake demanded. I'm concerned for Robert's health, Harold said calmly. Unlike you, I'm not using a child as a pawn. You manipulated everything, Blake hissed. You kept me from Jessica, from Madison. And look what's happened. Since you got involved, Harold countered. Robert's health failing, Madison's nightmares, your company losing millions. Blake flinched. Face it, Harold pressed. Everyone was better off before you played daddy. Doubt crept in. Was Harold right? Was Blake making things worse? His phone chimed. The Miller account was gone. Millions lost. Everything was unraveling, and Blake wasn't sure how much longer he could hold on. The boardroom fell silent as Blake entered. 14 stern faces turned toward him, Harold at the head, a smug smile on his lips. "Glad you could join us," Harold said coolly. "We're discussing the company's future." Blake had rushed from the hospital, where Robert's condition had stabilized but remained serious. The unannounced board meeting felt like Harold's final move. "What's this about?" Blake demanded. The chairman cleared his throat. "Given recent events, we've voted to temporarily remove you as CEO, effective immediately." The words hit like a blow. "On what grounds?" Harold slid a document forward. The Miller account's loss triggered a domino effect. 4 clients gone, stock down 17%. "Clients you pressured to leave?" Blake shot back. "That's a serious accusation," Harold said calmly. "Got proof?" Blake didn't, and they both knew it. Rachel entered, pale, handing Blake a tablet. "You need to see this," she whispered. The screen showed a news story. CEO's secret past, Blake Anderson abandoned pregnant girlfriend. It included a fake email, allegedly from Blake to Jessica, denying responsibility for her pregnancy. "This is a lie," Blake said through clenched teeth. "I never wrote it." Harold feigned concern. "The timestamp matches when Jessica tried to reach you. Maybe you forgot." Blake's phone rang. Martha Parker. "The reporter showed us the email," she said, voice brittle. "How could you? All this time pretending you didn't know." "Martha, it's not true." "We don't want you near Madison," she cut him off. "Robert and I are filing for permanent guardianship." The room spun. Blake had lost his company and, possibly, his daughter. Outside, Olivia waited, her face grave. "The school got calls from parents. The principal thinks you shouldn't attend the father-daughter dance." "You don't believe this nonsense, do you?" Blake asked desperately. Olivia hesitated. "I want to believe you, but the evidence—" "Harold fabricated it," Blake said. "I need to think about what's best for Madison," Olivia said, stepping back. "Maybe we should pause things for now." By evening, Blake sat alone in his apartment, surrounded by toys and books for Madison's planned visits. A text from Martha. "Madison's been crying since the news. She doesn't understand why you lied." Harold knocked, looking almost sympathetic. "I'm here to offer a solution," he said smoothly. "Resign as CEO, sign over your shares, and I'll make the story disappear. The Parkers will let you see Madison occasionally." Blake stared at his uncle, who had dismantled his life. "Why?" he whispered. "Why destroy what I love?" Harold's facade cracked, revealing bitterness. "Your father chose you over me despite my sacrifices. I built this company while he coddled you. Then he left it all to you." As Harold left, Blake looked at Jessica's photo, her smile a reminder of his failures. Blake sat in his childhood home, a place untouched by Harold. Dust sheets covered furniture, memories in every shadow. A week had passed since his life imploded. No calls from Madison, no replies to his texts explaining the fake emails. His lawyer's efforts to counter Harold's narrative had failed. Blake reread Jessica's diary, her final words haunting him. "We'll be a family." "I failed you," he whispered. "I failed Madison." In his father's study, he found a family photo. Blake at 10, his parents smiling. Harold slightly apart, his expression unreadable. Had the resentment always been there? In a desk drawer, Blake found a sealed letter from his father, written days before his fatal heart attack. "Blake, I fear Harold's influence is unhealthy. He sees the company as his legacy, not a tool for meaning. We built it to create something lasting, not for wealth or power. Don't let ambition steal your happiness. I lost years with you chasing what Harold deemed important. It wasn't. You are." Blake sank into the chair, the truth sinking in. He'd become the man Harold wanted, driven, ruthless, alone. His father had warned against this. Rachel arrived, clutching a folder. "I was worried about you," she said, "and I found something." The folder held proof of Harold's manipulations, intercepted communications, financial records showing he'd siphoned Blake's inheritance, and emails with clients who'd left Anderson Enterprises. "How did you get these?" Blake asked, stunned. "Harold's assistant likes me better," Rachel said with a small smile. The evidence could restore Blake's control of the company, but it no longer mattered. "I've chased the wrong things," he said. "What matters then?" Rachel asked. "Madison, being the father she deserves." He opened Madison's drawing of their family, Jessica among the stars. "I know what I need to do." That night, at Jessica's grave, Blake spoke of Madison's laughter, his regrets, and his fear of losing her. "I won't let him win," he vowed. "I'll fight for her with truth and love, as you would have." As dawn broke, hope stirred. Harold had taken much, but not Blake's resolve to be the father Jessica believed in. At the Parkers' door, Blake clutched Rachel's evidence folder, bracing for rejection. Martha answered, her expression cold. "I told you not to come." "Please," Blake said softly. 5 minutes for Madison. Something in his tone softened her, and she let him in. The living room was quiet save for Robert's oxygen machine. "You shouldn't be here," Robert said without malice. Blake set the folder down. "I didn't know about Jessica's pregnancy. These prove Harold intercepted her calls, returned her letters, faked that email. He's manipulated us all." Martha skimmed the papers, hands trembling. "Even if true, it doesn't undo Madison's pain. She trusted you." "I know," Blake said. "I'll spend my life earning that trust back if you let me see her." Robert and Martha exchanged looks. "She's at Sarah's," Robert said. "She didn't want to stay here after everything." Robert squeezed Blake's hand. "Jessica would have fought for you. Go fight for our girl." At Sarah's warm apartment, filled with Jessica's photos, Madison sat rigid with hurt. "She thinks you lied about not knowing Jessica was pregnant," Sarah warned. Blake knelt before Madison. "I need to tell you something important." He explained Harold's deception, showing her Jessica's unsent letters and the memory. "Ox, your mom never stopped trying to reach me," he said gently. "If I'd known about you, nothing would have kept me away." Madison's guard held. "Uncle Harold said you didn't want a kid." "Harold lied," Blake replied. "I've made mistakes, but not loving you wasn't one." He showed her a box with the deed to his childhood home. "I'm moving here. Permanently. It's near your school, with a big backyard and a room for you when you're ready." Her eyes widened. "What about your fancy apartment, your company?" "They don't matter," Blake said. "You do." A small crack appeared in her armor. "Can I think about it?" "Take all the time you need," Blake assured her. "I'm not going anywhere." At Olivia's classroom, Blake said, "I have proof clearing my name. Harold faked everything." She reviewed the documents. "I wanted to believe you. Madison misses you. She keeps drawing you in art class." "I've made mistakes," Blake admitted. "Putting work first, letting Harold influence me. But loving Madison isn't one." Olivia softened. "The father-daughter dance is Friday. Maybe you could come." Blake's lawyer confirmed the evidence could remove Harold and possibly lead to charges. A detail caught Blake's eye, a clause in his father's will Harold hid, stating the company was meant to fund a charitable foundation in his mother's name for children who lost parents like Madison. Blake called a trusted board member. "I need your help, not to reclaim my job, but to honor what Anderson Enterprises was meant to be." At the Anderson Enterprises charity gala, chandeliers sparkled over the city's elite. Blake adjusted, his tie feeling out of place despite hosting this event for years. He wasn't CEO tonight, just a man with truth and determination. Madison squeezed his hand. "Are you scared, Dad?" The word dad warmed him. The past 2 weeks had brought cautious reconciliation, with Madison spending weekends at his childhood home. A little, he admitted, but doing right matters more than fear. Olivia, elegant in a blue dress, whispered, "We're with you." Harold, playing the gracious leader, spotted Blake. "You weren't invited," he said coldly. "Actually, I was," Blake replied. Board members had invited him to test Harold's leadership. Harold's eyes narrowed at Madison. "Using a child as a prop, new low." Madison stepped forward. "He's not using me. I wanted to come." Harold's face hardened. "This isn't a place for children." "Nor for lying to keep her from her father," Blake retorted. The room quieted. Blake nodded to Rachel, who activated the presentation screens, displaying Harold's intercepted communications, forged documents, and financial manipulations. "For 8 years," Blake addressed the crowd, "Harold kept me from knowing I had a daughter. He hid Jessica Parker's messages, returned her letters, and fabricated evidence to turn Madison's grandparents against me. He manipulated clients to force my removal." Gasps rippled through the room. "I'm not here to reclaim my position," Blake continued. "I'm here because my father founded this company to help children like Madison, who nearly lost both parents, a purpose Harold buried." Harold lunged for the microphone. "This is absurd." "It's true," Robert Parker's frail voice called from the entrance, supported by Martha with his oxygen tank. "We've seen the evidence," Martha added. "Harold lied to us all." Harold's composure shattered. "This company is mine," he shouted. "I built it while William coddled his son." 3 board members moved to Blake's side, signaling a shift. Harold pulled Blake aside. "Walk away now," he hissed. "I'll reinstate you as CEO, give you control. Just drop this and leave the girl with her grandparents." "You don't understand," Blake said. "I'm not choosing between Madison and the company. I'm choosing to be the man Jessica believed in, the father Madison deserves." As Harold stormed out, Madison took Blake's hand. "You chose me," she said, awed. "Every time," Blake promised, lifting her into his arms. Headlines proclaimed victory. Anderson heir reclaims legacy. Family fraud exposed. CEO reinstated. But Blake knew better than to celebrate. Harold's humiliation made him dangerous. 3 days later, the Parker home was silent when Blake arrived for Madison's visit. No Robert by the window, no Martha in the kitchen. A manila envelope on the coffee table bore his name, containing a court order and a letter from Martha. "We've taken Madison to our lake house. Harold's lawyers showed evidence that your company's financial troubles could affect Madison's future. We need time. Don't follow." Blake's hands shook as he dialed their number. No answer. The lake house was 4 hours away, and they'd left without telling him. His lawyer's voice was grim. "Harold's filed an emergency petition, claiming your financial instability threatens Madison. He's leveraged Robert's medical bills, secretly paying them to create dependency." "He can't take her," Blake whispered. "There's more. Harold's rallied minority shareholders for tomorrow's board meeting, claiming your instability threatens the company's recovery. He's offering to buy their shares at a premium." Blake drove to his childhood home, surrounded by Madison's drawings and her stuffed elephant. His phone rang. Olivia. "The Parkers called the school. They're withdrawing Madison temporarily. What's happening?" "Harold," Blake explained. "One last move to destroy everything." Alone in his father's study, Blake faced an impossible choice. Fight for the company, his father's legacy, and Madison's financial security, or fight for custody of his daughter, who had already lost so much. Rachel arrived with a tablet. "You need to see this." Footage from the company server showed Harold with Jessica 8 years ago, post-pregnancy discovery. "If you pursue this, I'll destroy him," Harold told a tearful Jessica. "Blake will lose everything, his inheritance, his future. Is that what you want for your child's father?" Jessica's voice trembled. "Blake deserves to know about his child." "Then you'll both suffer," Harold warned. The footage ended. Where did you get this? Blake asked. Hidden in encrypted files, Rachel said. Harold kept it as insurance. Blake's grief turned to resolve. This was about justice for Jessica, who protected him while fighting for their child. A text from Martha arrived. Madison keeps asking for you. She doesn't understand why we left. A photo followed. Madison clutching Jessica's locket, tears streaming. Blake stood, decision made. Harold had forced an impossible choice, but there was another way, one requiring everything. Dawn broke over the cemetery, light filtering through mist as Blake approached Jessica's grave. Harold was there, staring at the headstone. You knew I'd come, Blake said. Harold didn't turn. You're predictable, sentimental like your father. Blake laid flowers by Jessica's name. I've made my decision. I'm not fighting you for the company. Harold's face lit with triumph. Finally showing sense. No, Blake corrected. Showing courage. I've transferred my shares to the Jessica Parker Foundation, a trust for single parents and children who've lost a parent. The paperwork's filed. Harold paled. You can't. It's done, Blake said. The shares can't be sold, only used for the foundation's work, my father's true vision, before you twisted it. Harold grabbed Blake's lapels. You've destroyed everything I built. No, Blake said, removing his hands. I've saved what matters. The board won't accept this, Harold spat. 4 directors signed as trustees this morning, Blake replied. Harold's rage faltered. And your daughter? How will you support her without the company? I don't need millions. To be a good father, Blake said. Jessica knew that. Harold scoffed. And the Parkers? They've taken her away. They're bringing her home today, Blake said. After seeing your threat to Jessica, they understand. The court dismissed your petition. Fear crossed Harold's face. That video was private. Nothing stays hidden forever, Blake said. Resign quietly, and I won't press charges. Stay, and everyone will know what you did to Jessica, Madison, and me. Harold's shoulders slumped. You never understood, he said softly. I did it for the family name. No, Blake said. You did it for yourself, sacrificing our family. As Harold walked away, Blake touched Jessica's grave. It's over, he whispered. He can't hurt us anymore. The Parkers' station wagon approached. Martha stepped out, then Robert with his oxygen tank. Madison bounded out, running to Blake. Daddy! She cried, leaping into his arms. Blake held her tightly, tears falling. I'm here, sweetheart. I'm not going anywhere. Olivia emerged, smiling through tears. The sun illuminated Jessica's name, a silent witness to their family reunited. 1 year later, Blake stood in the backyard of his childhood home, now alive with flowers and a swing set. Madison's laughter rang out as she chased their new puppy, Daisy. Her joy was worth more than any deal he'd closed. Need help? Olivia asked, joining him on the patio where he arranged cupcakes for Madison's birthday. Please, he smiled, stealing a quick kiss. Their relationship had grown naturally, rooted in love for Madison and quiet moments between school runs and bedtime stories. She's 7 today, Blake marveled, watching Madison swing high as Robert and Martha watched fondly. Robert's health had improved since Harold's manipulations ended, and they joined for Sunday dinners and holidays, past conflicts fading into affection. Jessica would be proud, Olivia said softly, of both of you. Blake touched the framed photo of Jessica in their living room. They kept her memory alive through stories and traditions. Jessica's memory box was a cherished ritual. Each birthday, Madison opened another letter from her mother. Daddy, look! Madison called as Sarah arrived with a gift box. Sarah, now an honorary aunt, kept Jessica's spirit alive with stories. Rachel arrived, now executive director of the Jessica Parker Foundation. Sorry I'm late, she said, handing Blake a package. The board meeting ran long. The scholarship program launches next month. 15 kids who lost parents get full college funding. Blake felt warmth spread through him. The foundation had exceeded his hopes, helping hundreds in its first year. Jessica's legacy thrived. "Any word from Harold?" Rachel asked. Blake shook his head. Harold had vanished abroad, sending occasional postcards to Madison. Awkward attempts Blake neither encouraged nor blocked. She'd decide about family later. Inside, they gathered around the dining table for Madison's cake, 7 candles glowing. Blake handed her a velvet box. "This was your mother's," he said as she revealed a silver charm bracelet. "She wore it at your age." Madison fastened it beside her locket. "Do you think she can see us?" she asked. "I know she can," Blake said, emotion choking him. After candles and gifts, Blake found quiet on the porch swing. Madison's laughter drifted from inside, where Olivia helped her try a new dress. This simple contentment, a happy child, a loving home, was everything. An email from the board arrived. Though no longer CEO, Blake stayed tied to his father's legacy through the foundation. The company thrived under new leadership, its charitable mission restored. As sunset painted the sky, Blake reflected on 8 lost years with Madison, irretrievable yet dwarfed by the bright future ahead. Madison joined him on the swing. "I read Mom's birthday letter," she said, leaning against him. "What did she write?" "She said love is most important, more than money or status." She looked up. "Like what you did, choosing me over your company." Tears pricked Blake's eyes. "Exactly like that." "I think she'd be happy," Madison said, tracing her bracelet. "We made the family she wanted." Blake kissed her head, his heart full. Jessica had known what mattered long before he did, but he'd learned her lesson. No success outweighed the people you love. As stars appeared, Blake and Madison swung gently, not the family he'd once imagined, but the one he was destined to have.